Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and welcome to Command Power, the show in which we discuss all things Magic the Gathering with a focus on Commander.
And welcome to another episode of our Card Spotlight series in which I highlight a card that I think should see more play in Commander. But before that, just a quick reminder to click subscribe if you enjoy my videos. We're well on our way to 1 million subscribers and your support means everything to me. And today we're going to be talking about the Watcher in the Water. For 3 colorless and 2 blue, it's a legendary creature, Kraken 9/9, with the Watcher in the Water enters the battlefield tapped with 9 stun counters on it. Whenever you draw a card during an opponent's turn, create a 1/1 blue tentacle creature token, and whenever a tentacle you control dies, untap up to 1 target Kraken and put a stun counter on up to 1 target non-land permanent. So when I saw this spoiled, I was really interested in this card because it seems like a really cool build around, and also because it fits really well in my Ithara God of the Polis deck. It's amazing in there because you're drawing a bunch of cards during your opponent's turns. But I think it's really interesting as a commander as well. There aren't many interesting out-of-the-box mono blue commanders, and this seems like a really cool one because you're actually building around multiple different things. Those are commanders I really like that are really interesting and specific, but are specific to multiple different things because it makes the building process more complicated and more nuanced, since you need to find a lot of overlap between sometimes very disparate themes. So here, for example, there are 2 main themes that we're going to be building around. The first is drawing cards during our opponent's turn. That's obviously the main thing here because it's going to provide us a steady stream of tokens when we do so. Unfortunately, the tokens don't have any evasion or anything, but it's still pretty cool to be able to have a mono blue token build, which we don't really see very often. Also of note is that it doesn't just trigger once per turn, so if you draw multiple cards during your opponent's turns, you're going to be getting multiple tokens. That's very powerful, and that means that a card like Transcendent Message is going to be amazing here. With the Convoke, it means that we can use the tokens we get if we draw a late game, and otherwise early game we can dump a bunch of mana into it and get a bunch of tokens. So it's very solid in this deck, that kind of effect. The other cool thing is that you actually have a pretty big creature here that could be decent at dealing commander damage if you eventually have a way to untap it and give it unblockable. Stun counters are kind of interesting because they make it really hard to bypass the downside. You basically have to have them all removed. There's no other way to do it. There are, however, a bunch of cards that just straight up remove all the counters. Something like Ferropede comes to mind, and then you'll have this big 9/9 that you're free to attack with, which is obviously a lot of damage. And then the other really cool part that you could also build around with this deck, and that's one of the coolest things I think because we haven't really seen this very much before. It's kind of like an Aristocrats or Sack Outlet theme, which is something we definitely don't see in mono blue. So being able to sacrifice those little tentacles that we're making is essentially going to remove a stun counter from our commander and put one on one of our opponents, so we can both tap theirs down and allow our commander to swing in with more ease, which means that the commander damage angle can actually be fairly relevant if you have enough ways to sacrifice those tokens. This also means you're going to want to be playing slightly more Krakens than you maybe normally would, because then when you eventually have no stun counters on the Watcher in the Water, you can start giving your Krakens pseudo-vigilance, which seems really powerful as well. In any case, I just think this is really cool. There's so many different build arounds that you can go for here. This is a pretty funky commander to build, and it would be fun to find all the different cards that synergize well with it, and I'm certainly keeping a watch on this one because I think it's going to be a really powerful, and there's certainly going to be a lot of cards released that work with it in the future. So there you have it. Those have been my thoughts on this new spoiler. What do you think about this card? Please let me know in the comment section below. I read all comments and respond to all of them too. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click like or subscribe. It really helps the channel. And until next time, take care. Woo!